Waiting for Jordan, but not coming back just yet. On test. Good. All right. Good morning, everyone. It's a Wednesday. If you have nice, good Pride songs for the Friday class, just send it to me. I'm gonna put it on. I was not thinking about it, and I put the Lady Gaga on, and I'm like, it is fitting. So that was good. It's a Pride Week at a U of A. So why Pride Week is so different from place to place? I think it's a Pride Week is very different from country to country, city to city. That's interesting. Anyway, so we're going to talk about midterm exam 2 quickly, and we're going to go over some of the questions and the model answers. So you know where you might have gotten wrong. If you have any questions, you let me know. You know the drill. Take a note if you have any questions about, I'm not sure about this answer. Why this, I thought this was, maybe partial mark or full mark. Take a note, send it to me, quickly email, and I will double check, or we can individually meet, okay? But that's the average raw score. So what you see on your exam is raw score, okay? Just pure original score. That's the average. A little like 71%, I want to say. And it's from, thank you, that's pretty good. Pretty good, yeah. 9.5 to range from 28. So yes, somebody stayed again. And so I decided to add 1 point. Okay, so that you can actually add 1 to the whatever the number you see on the front, the total number. And you can point that, and that should be the number you see on an E-class. If there is a mismatch, let me know. Jordan. Yeah. And after adding 1 point, this is the revised score, average. Hope. And if you wanted to calculate the weight for your final grade, no problem. That's the equation you can use. There you go. And if you get more than 28 points, which some of you did, and then you will keep the extra points because you earned it, why not? And I would like to meet you if your revised score. So after adding 1 point, less than 14, let's talk. We don't have to panic just yet, but it's, I think, good idea to meet as well. Again. All right. L's name is wing. Okay, there you go. Okay. So that's a distribution. If you want to know where you're standing, give or take. So there's a spread in there. It was an interesting, more students in here rather than here. So there's that too. But a lot of students were actually from here, from 90%, a little below 90% up to 75%. So I was happy to see that. There you go. Look. E, D, E, D, E, 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 A, B, C, D, E. There you go. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Once again, if you are over here, let me know. We're going to have our meetings. And some of us actually had a meeting after midterm 1 and seems to be worked out for some of us. So let's do it. Why not? For the final exam. And here's a short answer, sorry, multiple choice answers, correct answers. These red, each time I examine the statistical information about these questions. Basically, they're over 50%. Most of them are some of them are 100% right. So great to see. 90%, 80. These red question 8, 9, 11 are the ones that are close to 50%, between 50 to 60% of you are getting correct. So I will review them selectively. Okay, so you don't have to worry about that. You're going to see your details on that. But if you have any other question about any other question, let me know. Not now, sorry. Take a note. And if you're like, I really thought this answer was B. Why it's A? Send me email. I'm going to take some time there. Wait. Don't get a paper cut. I got a 1 already. It sucks. Anybody need a little more time? You go with this? Okay. All right. So let's go over 8, 9, and 11. 8. This question was the criticism of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I hope you remember, it's one of those things that I go, and also the chapter went. Maslow is very famous when it comes to basic needs, psychological needs. And there's a lot of people, like not just recreation field, but also like human resources. There's so many managers who know Maslow, and which is sad because there isn't really much, well, the research has been weak in terms of supporting Maslow's hierarchy. And that's one of the things. And these researchers, we went over slide because they summarize basically some of the 3 major criticisms against Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And one of them, the correct answer here is elitist. And that's the sentence that we had exactly on our slide. The third criticism that they identified across the literature was Maslow's elitist view of self-actualization. I don't know if you remember that I mentioned how Maslow actually cited biographies of actually some of those world famous leaders like Abraham Lincoln, Mahatma Gandhi, Rosa Parks as the example, the epitomes of self-actualization. And guess what? Most of the population aren't going to be Abraham Lincoln, so on and so forth. There we go. There you go. He said actually within the typical North American population, 10% of people will be able to really satisfy self-actualization. But in reality, not really. If you actually try to measure self-actualization, a lot of people, actually, majority of people say that they're actually self-actualizing. So that's an issue. There's that divide between how Abraham Maslow, actually conceptualized self-actualization and the rest. So this is actually, B is opposite. Okay, B is opposite. His conceptualization wasn't unique, specific to collectivist culture. It was criticized that it wouldn't apply to other culture, like a collectivistic culture, right? Definitely not easy to achieve. Unique to certain situations. So that was a criticism related to the more of a basic needs and expressed needs, right? some of the literature scholars looked at the different types of needs that are specific to certain situation, like recreation, outdoor recreation, so on and so forth. Universal certainly goes against the elitist view, so that's not correct either. Krista, come over here. I, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. Oop, there you go. Okay. Number 9. This is about the basic psychological needs theory and how there are 5 advancements in that theory recently. And one of them was about, first part, autonomy, how autonomy's idea was revised, refined, so that we actually can or cannot satisfy these needs when we cannot choose the behavior. Now, remember, autonomy, we said autonomy is no longer independent choice. Or actually, you don't have to have an independent choice. You don't have to be the one who get to choose, like, let's say, out of 3 options. Maybe I have used either my wife's situation or my doctor's situation. Probably my wife in this class. That my wife may tell me, like, hey, sweetie, let's watch this movie. I don't want to watch that movie. But as long as you can actually value that behavior, as in, like, well, I value spending time with my wife. I don't like this movie, but still, then you can actually feel autonomous or autonomy, some level of autonomy in that activity as well. So you don't choose it, you didn't choose it, but I could still feel that way. Okay, so can is correct. The other one is the structure, right? Having some organization of things, some discipline, some expectations, and clarifying that in a, let's say, recreation program, sports program. Actually, it does not necessarily limit people's or limit or, you know, undermine, compromise people's sense of autonomy. Actually, it does help. Because have you been to the chaotic situation that, quote unquote, anything goes? That's actually more difficult to exercise one's autonomy sometimes. So having that structure, having some options, having some rules actually sometimes help as well. Okay, so that's another quote from that slide as well. The new study actually showed that the structure or directedness does not compromise autonomy. And that's a direct quote from slide as well. Question 11 was about the need frustration. Okay, so it's very important to be able to differentiate lack of need satisfaction versus need frustration, because research shows there are 2 different phenomena. And that means preventing lack of need satisfaction, or, you know, helping need satisfaction, is not same as preventing need frustration. Need frustration is about this situation where it's a social or environmental, like a physical, that actively prevent us from pursuing the need. There's a barrier between you and a need satisfaction. As in, for example, sometimes it's the people, like a coach. You're doing your, best, and you're actually getting better at the sports. But there's this coach sometimes who just pick up on the bad thing. Hey, you're still not doing this right. There's this, like, you're not doing, like, overcritical, over picky coaches, teachers, parents can actually be one of those sources of the need frustration, for example, in terms of competence. Okay, and that's not same as us trying hard and we're not getting there. We don't feel the improvement. We don't feel more competent. That's a lack of need satisfaction. That's lack of competence satisfaction. That's different from competence frustration. Make sense? Okay. So, well, A is polar opposite. It's actually a good kind of coach. This would actually help your need competence satisfaction, quick feedback. Feels they're not so good with the sport. So yeah, this is not same as frustration. C is not frustration. Okay, it's just lack of satisfaction. It's great with the sports, obviously, then you're good. You're not frustrated, you're not, feeling lack of satisfaction. Now, has competitive teammates do not necessarily cause need frustration, though. If that teammates go out of their way to actually prevent your competence satisfaction, that's where it gets problematic. Make sense? For example, let's say if those teammates let's say, spoke ill of you, like, oh, but she's not good with this, or he's not good with this, to the coach, so that you don't get picked, right? Or your coach's perception of your, performance gets lower. Now that's their way of actually getting involved into the process of you actually pursuing competence satisfaction. So now that would be potentially need frustration. Okay, so something outside of you have to actively prevent you from pursuing satisfaction. It was a very similar question. It was in a sample file. It wasn't competence, it was autonomy. So far, so good with the multiple choices. Okay, short answers. Short answer 1, you did very well. The first model, left bottom, is apathy. Yes, some of us don't know the spell of apathy, and that's fine. Okay, we try our best, like, this is apathy. They know what they're, they can pronounce it probably if we ask, so that's good. Now, 2 things we're looking for 1B. First is that the circle represents the personal average of the skills and challenge. Okay, so that's, a lot of people got it right. And then also the second part is that beyond that, so the significance of that point is, if you think of the previous model, there is no, apathy actually. So beyond that point, the flow occurs. Below that point, flow does not occur, apathy occurs, right? So you say something like that, and then you should have gotten 2 mark, full mark. Okay. Basically 1 point for this personal average, 1 point for this other sign. Short answer 2. Now, this one, I have a lot of things here, sorry, because there are multiple ways you can take, right? It's about actually, this was the exact same question that you had in the sample file. There you go. Hopefully you're like, yes. Anyway, so basically criticizing, or actually recognizing limitations of flow. That was the point of the question, right? 2 ways basically you can take based on the studies we covered. One way is group difference, that there are some studies, the one study, Heald study with the older adults, the other study, gosh, what's her name? Moneta study about the Chinese students actually, looking at people didn't have the best optimal experience in the flow channel, the high challenge, high skill. Or actually that flow channel was negatively correlated even with happiness for older adults. So maybe those are the group of people who don't want to be challenged all the time. It makes sense though, right? I mean, think about it. You get a job and your boss is like, flow is the best concept, so we're going to model everything based on the flow, management based on the flow. You're going to be constantly in a challenging situation. Because that's what the flow suggests. It has to be above average flow challenge. Isn't that exhausting? It is exhausting for me. I won't do that. I mean, maybe like sometimes, but not all the time. Okay, so some group of people may not prefer it. So basically you want to mention some group, right? And older adults or Chinese people. And your reference to the older adults or Chinese people, hopefully reference a little more than just the older adults, so that I can see, okay, you understood the study. Like many of you, for example, talked about older adults not happy in a flow, something like that. Good. You should have gotten the 2 points. Okay. By mentioning these groups, you're basically saying that it's about group difference. It should be good. The other route is the addiction. The flow can be addictive. We actually kind of knew it for a long time, but over the past 10 years or so, we have actually had quite a bit of gaming studies coming out. That's where a lot of flow occurs, which we knew. And actually, that's where a lot of addictive experiences exist as well. So some of you talked about MMORPG, which was what the both study was about, actually. So some details in there, gaming players experiencing, for example, those who experience more flow tends to exhibit more addictive behaviors. Or some of you mentioned how altered sense of time or even social aspect, which was another finding from this Halls and colleagues study of the game, actually creates correlates with the greater addiction to the gaming. Something like that, you should have gotten 2 points. So one, at least some facts, information about the study so that we know that, yep, you got the studies and either of those answers, okay, based on a lecture. Short answer 3. And this is also the broadest question, probably the broadest question ever. That, okay, the chapter asked us, must leisure be pleasant experience? And the answer is no. I wanted you, in a lecture, we said, well, the answer is no. And here are a couple of reasons why. There's a slide with their different candidates concepts, actually. So we could talk about many things: serious leisure, which had a cost, obsession, obsessive passion, excitement, which can slip into basically fear and anxiety. For example, we learned that mixed emotion, having positive and negative emotions at the same time, engagement, awe-inducing experience can be sometimes uncomfortable because it challenges your frame of mind. It challenges your worldview, right? Sometimes that can be quite uncomfortable. So those are the mostly concepts that you all use, which is great. Now, there's a one rule that you cannot use flow, and I said it twice, so I stick to the rules, okay? Because there's another flow question. So you have to mention one concept because I asked for a concept, mention some of those concepts, 1 point. And as long as you use that concept, expand on that to answer the question. No, it doesn't have to be positive because, for example, serious leisure has cost, such as, let's say you get into the certain community, activity community, and there's a politics, right? Politics don't exist just in the, the Capitol Hill and whatnot. It exists in such a subculture, music scenes, sports scenes, right? Sports have politics. Who gets to be chosen for the team isn't necessarily 100% based on a performance, like it or not. It is true. I've been there. Yes. Oh, sorry. Oh, this is a bad one. I changed this one. Oh, rating is like, doing something difficult in the game, I guess that's what it is. And there's a boss, there's a monster, and we try to beat that monster together, 8 or 10, 24 of us, basically. I changed this one. I got really nerdy because I was having that moment, actually, when I was creating this. I created something a little more relaxed and less nerdy later after that, and I forgot to swap the example. My example was like, a revised example was like, getting into the gaming community and you realize that there are some politics, right? About who gets to be what, who gets to play what role. Role-playing game. Maybe in the future, you will see me actually streaming on a Twitch. I don't know. If the university started to pay less, okay. Short answer 4. So it was about one of the new candidate needs, okay? It wasn't about the established one, which is autonomy, competence, and relatedness. It is about novelty, nature, or nature relatedness, or beneficence or benevolence. Those 3 needs. Novelty is about newness, new place, new activity, whatnot. Nature is about connecting with the nature, right? Plants, flowers, winter, the weather, animals, whatnot. Beneficence is about doing good, being right, doing something ethical, helping community. Model answer, hypothetical program, maybe, I don't know, a guided outdoor tour program in urban green space in Edmonton, so that the people can actually feel connected to their nature, the nature that they live in, which actually does exist as well. So it could be anything. It could be as simple as, well, it's a novelty and we're going to send you to the dozen different places in the world. Of course, it's going to be very expensive, but I'll take it. Okay, as long as it makes sense. The last one. So this question, actually, the second part, 5B, was the exactly same, basically, as one of the sample file question. I added a 5A, though. Not going to happen. What was the difference between those 2 studies? Okay, so many of you actually got it right in terms of these Dr. C and Graf study observed higher level of the perceived freedom, right? That was right. But many of you were like stopping there. Not many, actually, some of you, not mentioning that it was during leisure. Remember their graph? And I said, left side, it's pretty much consistent. Work, housework. The right side, leisure activity. That's where observed a major difference, okay? So during leisure is important. 1 point for leisure, the perceived freedom was higher in the graph study, or 6 centimeters higher in the graph study. That's another. 5B is about, you could take different ways. This is where we had a major discussion about it. Many of you mentioned the method measurement issues, which is great. Thank you. Right? We use 0 to 10 scale. They use yes or no. That might have inflated people's perception of freedom, because, well, if you ask me yes or no, I feel like 4 out of 10. But then that's actually not so high when you actually measure from 0 to 10, right? It could be maybe occupational difference. They were study with worker, like a corporate workers. So maybe have more clear boundary of work time versus free time, right? Versus students. Exhibit A, you may feel like your freedom is always like, I could study, I could do this. Your freedom may be constantly low in that sense. Time difference, as in the historic, like, 90/80 versus, or 90/70 versus 2018 or so, right? So technology like smartphone was embedded during that time. We may get those emails, work-related text messages, and all that kind of things these days. Because of that, our freedom might be compromised. And then finally, cultural difference could apply as well. But some of you just said, okay, cultural difference. Like, I need a little more than that, though, as an explanation. Okay, how that leads to, cultural difference leads to lower perceived freedom in, for example, our study, or higher freedom in the other study, right? For example, you can say, well, let's say, collectivistic culture like Japanese culture, people may experience more constraint during their leisure time. Like, it's a socialization, but it's an obligation. Like, you're hanging out with friends, but you kind of have to hang out with the friends. Anything like that, it makes sense, okay? You need explanation rather than just pointing out potential reason, like cultural difference. Okay, cultural difference, how? Okay. If you have questions, comments, let me know. Send me quick email with the something like, okay, short answer 2 or multiple choice 4 or something like that. And then just quick reason right next to it. I think that part should have gotten an extra half mark, or the full mark, or whatever, something like that. And I'll take a look, and if I can respond to that, maybe you get a point, maybe you don't. I will give you explanation, and if you're not satisfied, we can meet, go over it, and let's do that by March 26-ish. Okay, I know you're busy, but hopefully by this time you have some time to send me email. Do it sooner though. Okay, you're fresh right now. Your mind is fresh on this, so you can send that email right now if you want to. Okay, so I'm gonna need that exam sheet. So it's an opportunity to stand up, do some exercise, have a 5 steps toward podium. Thank you. Thank you. Go to bathroom. Go to bathroom. Thank you. 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 Oh, that was 2. Thank you. That was 2 too. That's a lot. All right. Everybody's delivery people. Okay. Thank you. 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 All right. Try not to get your paper cut. Everybody good? Thank you. We missing Curtis. Did anybody go out too? Yeah, we good? Okay. Let's correct something. All right. So chapter 7 about personality, we're going to keep on going with that. And today we're going to begin with the second section about the big five. In the last class, we talked about the overview. We gave our introduction to the big five framework, right? What was the way to remember the 5 major personality traits, big 5? Ocean, ooh, that was quick. Okay, so what does that stand for? O, openness experience, but openness is fine for the exam, okay? C. Huh? This is a tough word, conscientiousness, not consciousness. Oh, good one. A lot of people are going to write consciousness, conscientiousness. Okay, consciousness means that you're kind of like aware, right? You're alive, your brain's functioning, right? So conscientiousness is being structured, organized, punctual, so on and so forth. E, extroversion. A, I want to hear for this side. A, agreeableness. Yeah, nice one. And N, neuroticism. Yes. Okay, so those are the big 5. We're going to go one by one, what it is, and also how it leads to what kind of implication it has for leisure behavior. Now, openness to experience. It is about aesthetic sensitivity, the need for variety, diverse experience, unconventional values. So these are the people, if you're high on openness, you're open to new ideas, flexible in thinking, interested in different cultures. So maybe like a tourism, you're the travelers, world travelers, you're probably high on openness and keen to learn. There's one aspect of openness called sentience. It's a weird word. But what that means is that you're attuned to your senses, your perception, your visual cues, your auditory cues, maybe your taste. I always tell my wife, because we're still living in a condo, I can hear everything. I have a nose and ears of a dog, seriously. My wife don't. She's like, I can hear the noise and she doesn't hear the noise. I can taste the difference and she's like, I guess it's a good thing I'm the cook and she's not, she's the one eating, but anyway. So there are some people like that. People who are high on this openness, they're more likely to read, like you read novels, read essays, attend the classes. This may surprise you as a student because you have to attend the classes, right? But there are people who, go out after the graduation, come back to school, audit the classes. Some of your, grandparents' generation, want to learn something new, come back to your courses, online, schoolings and whatnot. They do. Listen to or play music, engage in high culture activities such as like operas, theater, performance, so on and so forth. What do you think? Are you high on this or are you low on this? I'll show you a little more detail about how people's leisure and mindset behavior changes, on a high and low on that openness. C is conscientiousness, which is about tendency for order. The people who love the structure and discipline. They're also strivers, achiever. They're self-disciplined and they have a lot of deliberation. They think, they plan, they simulate in their mind and then execute rather than like, hey, let's go out. No, I can't just go out. I have to have a plan, right? Those people, they're so high, people who are high on a conscientiousness, they're organized, they're responsible, they're reliable. There are some people like that. People who are low on their conscientiousness, they're more impulsive and seeking immediate gratification, as in like, hey, let's do something that's fun now. I don't worry about the final exam. Just enjoy now. and also being spontaneous and accommodating, flexible. So actually being low on that is not a bad news in terms of leisure, right? High, of course, being high on that is a good characteristic to have it as well. But being low doesn't mean bad thing. You know, there are some free-spirited people, right? Very adaptable, flexible, easygoing. You know, these are great people to have around too. Now, if you're high on a conscientiousness, they're more likely to adhere to intense exercise as well. So if you want to be physiotherapist, for example, rehab, or whatever, recreation therapist, actually knowing your client's personality matters, where they are, because they will show different responses based off of their personality as well. Extroversion, we talked about it in the last class, but it's being about assertive, gregarious, as in you enjoy hanging out and being in a social situation. They're also excitement seekers. And overall, they're like that. The human being with the positive emotions always, the sunny person. Make sense? Always smiling, always laughing. Now, we actually have quite a bit of neurological research on that extroversion. And we know actually people who are extroverted, more extroverted, we're different at the biochemical level, like neurological level. The cortical, this part of brain actually, that has basically more, the baseline level of that stimulation is lower than other people, like for example, introverted people. So there's more for them, more stimuli they need actually to achieve that optimal level of stimulation. And that's why basically extroversion is about stimulation craving, that they're lower in the baseline, so they actually want that stimuli more, and it's always constantly, basically. The opposite of extroversion is introversion. There's no like high introversion, low introversion per se. The opposite of extroversion is introversion. So it's the opposite side of the same continuum. These are the people who have actually quite high baseline cortical actually arousal level. So they don't need stimulation. And later on, we're going to watch a TED Talk video about the power of introversion. And I just love this, adore this TED Talk. So I hope you enjoy that too. Now, but speaking of introverted individuals, these are the people more likely to be athletic, adventurer, like mountain climbing, outdoor bicycling, the mountain biking. They're also social, not surprised, not surprised. And they're more likely to be, based on this research right there, active on social media as well. Of course, everybody has a social media, but the people who interact with other people, like, and everything, like, I just don't know why they do that. But my sister actually does it too. So now you know about my sister as well. She's just like always commenting, congratulating, so on and so forth. Those people. Me, nothing, nada. And they're also more likely to be bored because the baseline arousal level is lower. So they have actually greater risk of feeling bored as well. Okay, and that's why they need a sensation basically seeking. Now, that's why sometimes when they don't have the alternatives, good alternatives, they may go for things like alcohol consumption, recreational drugs to actually get that stimulation higher. There's actually neurological evidence and reasons for that as well. And it affects our, not just the leisure, but also potentially our mental health and overall development as well, obviously, because it's a substance. Agreeableness. This is kind of like angel of the personality, to be honest. I have never heard a bad thing about agreeableness, but maybe it's too agreeable sometimes and say yes to everybody, and that's a problem. But what it is that it includes trustworthiness, altruism, as in helping, tendency, willingness to help others, and straightforward, as in like transparent, right? They're more likely to do social leisure, especially things like volunteering, helping communities, helping others, and coaching, teaching, mentoring. So people who are doing coaching in sports, you may be actually high on this. People who want to go to like nonprofit, that's fine. Maddie, that's fine. Knowing who you are is very important thing, okay? Totally fine. But there are some people who are just like, I'm passionate about nonprofit. Maybe high on this too. More likely to be environmentally friendly as well. The people who care about, for example, leave no trace type of practices when they go to outdoor as well. The final thing is neuroticism, AKA also, this is also called as our emotional instability. Emotional instability, so lack of stability. It's a tendency to feel distress, as in not a good kind of stress. Okay, stress can be good, but this one is bad stress. Anxiety, hostility, depression, and the self-consciousness as well. Okay, and they're less likely to overall, do leisure participation, anything, especially athletic activities. And this also leads to the tendency to discount or undermine the positives in our life, the benefits of our leisure, recreation, sports, tourism activities. And that's why that can be a problematic orientation personality to have in your, for example, clients in a clinical setting. If you're, let's say, rec therapist, physiotherapist, even like coaches and things like educator, PE teacher too. Because it's one thing to know something or to be able to do it or actually do it. It's another to recognize the benefit out of it. Make sense? It's one thing to practice yoga. It's another to actually recognize, you know what, actually it's helping me. Because there are some people who just do a lot of so-called good things and they go like, oh, that doesn't work for me. Oh, this doesn't work for me. I don't feel any differences, so on and so forth. Maybe that's not about that activity, but it's about that, your framing of things. Maybe you need to actually maybe try a little longer and see what it feels like, and small changes recognizing these people may have a problem with that. And neuroticism has been associated with condition called anhedonia, which is actually inability to feel fun, inability to feel pleasure. It also occurs with the people with the major depression, for example, and other things. But this is a big barrier for our field, because we want to represent the fun part of life, right? Like recreation, sports, and tourism, parks, and mountains, and whatnot. And then some people have difficulty to feel fun, anything, even eating cake, which I cannot even imagine. Right? Eating cake should be ice cream. Now, you may wonder, how important is this though, Shin, right? The textbook author too. Like, how important is the big 5 framework personality? You may know these are the really famous ones, like extroversion. Probably you heard about it, right? Or maybe even neuroticism. You heard about that. Now, how important is it in terms of explaining our leisure behavior? So if we know the big 5 of different people, to what extent it helps us to explain, predict people's behavior, leisure behavior? Well, there is some research. Perry Conier, who is a professor in our faculty of KSR, actually, exercise oncologist, he studied exercisers, people who do exercise, and the big 5, and explained 4% of difference in exercise level. 4%. Maybe not so much? I don't know. How do you think? The other study, Rose and Smith, they measured conscientiousness, extroversion, and neuroticism, and they explained about 4 to 1, 1 to 4% of the variance differences in a physical activity level. So there's some consistencies in the number, about 4 or 5%. This study, Landers and Lansbury, they measured extroversion and conscientiousness, explained about 8% of the variance in internet use. Not too big, but we also have to recognize that these are the stable factors. These are not like motivation, like chapter 6, motivation. Motivation is the moving target, okay? I could say something to you right now and your motivation can be totally different next moment. It could happen. But personality, I don't think so. I can't change your personality overnight. Not like that. It shouldn't. If it does, we have to have a chat, right? That's the thing. So maybe there's a value still to know that, right? Especially in a clinical context and whatnot. knowing who they are, who your clients are, and kind of designing and modifying your interventions and whatnot to speak to their personality traits. And this one is, I hope you enjoy this. So Schwartz and colleagues, they did a very interesting study. So they went on a Facebook, and then you go like, Shin, Facebook is dead. Yes. Well, it's actually not dead. Your grandparents own it. So what they did was the Facebook users, right? They did a survey to measure their big 5 traits. So they knew these people's big 5. And then they also text to mind what they posted. Be careful, people, if you're posting anything public. Well, they had a consent, this study. So this is the word crowd representing, for example, people who are high on openness to experience. What are they saying on a social media? As in, social media interaction is one of the leisure activity, right? Do we see any tendency that fits with openness? What do you think? Any words that stick out to you that represent openness to experience? Universe, maybe, yeah, big one right there. Anything else? Dreams. Makes sense. What do you think? Luke, Colton, what do you think? Any words in here that kind of represent openness? Something in there, center. Dreams, you said dreams? Anything? Soul? Soul music? Death? Whoa, really? Maybe death is like a metaphysical idea. Huh? Art, yes, art, music, writing, right? Soul, maybe it's a soul music. Maybe that's what it is. Low, on the other hand, if you are low on openness, can't, wait, don't, what? Now I know what the WAT means. Now it gets even better. Okay, it gets even better. People who are high on a conscientiousness, so structured, disciplined, those people ready to work, excited, great day, and even like some good success, semester, so on and so, workout, long day. People who are low on the conscientiousness, I'm not gonna even say it, so you should look at that, okay? I'm not saying that because I'm getting recorded right now, okay? I don't even know why this Pokemon, what Pokemon is doing, or what anime is doing. I'm not sure. This was actually, this image exists in a scientific paper. So that's kind of funny. I'm like, I have to have this. People who are high on a neuroticism. Okay, so good. Sick up, of course, there's this, the F-bombs, depression. I hate these strong words. There's emoji, like the face. These are actually more of a Japanese Asian style emoji, like a face, thing that's not happy face. But if you're opposite, right, low on a neuroticism, emotional stability, things like I don't know why Lakers, but success, workout. So maybe sports, right? Basketball, soccer. So those sports are good. Beautiful day. So more of like a gratitude type of things, blessings. So they actually found that there's some patterns in the languages that we use based off of, we can actually differentiate people's Facebook behavior, Facebook comments based off those big 5 factors as well. So this is the end of today's class, but think about what you're posting. I know these days it's less of a text, more of a like, pictures like Instagram or the videos, TikToks and whatnot. But what are the things that you are saying on the social media? Take a look about, just you do this, right? When you have like 5 minutes, you go on a social media and just like, do this. Go to your own profile or, wall, whatever, where some post exists. What were the words you're using? Maybe that's a good reflection time about your personality. I don't know if you want to reflect about personality. I don't want to. But hey, knowing yourself, right? All right, Wednesday, gonna be Friday next class, and we're gonna be done. Not done with the semester, but we're getting close. All right. Once again, if you have a question about the exam 2, send me email. The Friday night is the deadline for critical chapter reflection 2. Have a good one. See ya. See ya. See ya. Bye.